Righto, so I've got the 5-time Australian sidecar champion, the legend, the guy I used to have in my lunchbox at school, Glenn Obrien. How you going tonight, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, Dave. No, I just got home from work, mate, so looking forward to having a chinwag with you, mate.
Now, we're going to discuss some people for the upcoming Australian titles over the West Coast. And in your career, you did a lot of travel to the East Coast. So is it nice to see sidecars coming back in a big way over to your part of the world?
It's actually been really good this year to see a couple of guys come across premature to the Australian Championships just to have a crack on the track, mate. I know what it takes to get your gig over here. I know what it takes to organise it all, etc., etc. So it's hard to travel. It's so much easier to put it on the trailer and going up and down your own coast, but when you got to come across the paddock, put them on trucks or whatever, it's a lot harder because you can't bring your full workshop with you a lot of the time because you've got to keep your weight down, etc., etc. So you're also relying on a lot of help from the other side. So yeah, it's a different setup when you go away racing. You're out of your comfort zone a fair bit. So I think the guys are professional enough this year. Well, actually not professional enough this year, but professional enough in this era to be able to do that. I've had enough practice with their fully enclosed trailers and this, that and the other, and so whatever's in the trailer they can get a meeting out of. So a lot of the guys on this side also put their hand up to help billet the guys and with workshops and all sorts of different things. So no, it's really good to see them come over, mate. You know, back in yesteryear in like 2000 when they had to come over here for the Australian Championships, a lot of them opted not to if they didn't think they were going to be competitive, where normally they would have rocked up at any meeting on the East Coast and just to have a crack. So no, it's good to see a lot of the top teams coming over, and there's word that every man his dog's coming for it. So no, really pleased to see that.
Let's discuss some of the qualifiers. I have the list in front of me. I'll go through just some, but there are some really heavy hitters in your side of town. Particularly Millsy's guys, so Clayton Mills' team of Jack Fuster and Jonah Cedar. So those guys have been pretty hot and heavy lately. So what's your take on those guys versus the East Coast fellas?
Well, Jack's done a lot of junior stuff on the East Coast. He won his Australian Championship as a junior on the East Coast. But once again, that's a whole different kettle of fish when it comes to coming into the big time with the big guys racing, you know, the way they race compared to juniors. Although the juniors are a bit of biff and bash as well because the tracks are so much smaller and you've got to pretty much smack your way through to win a race a lot of the time with the juniors. But being on a senior bike, it's there's a bit of a rider code out there, so there's a lot of less smacking around and you're going 3 times the speed as well. So these guys, he's got a lot of talent. And he hasn't done a lot of riding on the East Coast, so he hasn't had a lot of experience with a lot of the top guys, but he's certainly cut his teeth nicely with the guys that are over here, i.e. your Nashes, your Bishops, your Lip Trots, etc. So these guys are quite handy. Pretty much anywhere they would go, they would be competitive. So Jack's had a couple of good guys to ride around, so I think he'll handle them quite well.
Talking to Millsy during the week or leading up to this, and he said he's had a few gating issues with the bike and gearing and that, but they got it sorted, obviously. Now, someone I have seen a bit of racing of in since I've been back is Reese Liptrot and Jesse Thomas. Now, Reese did Mildura Aussies a couple of years ago. Yep. So what's your take on Reese?
I had a good chat with those boys, you know, a couple of seasons ago. I said, like, if you guys really want to mix it up and really want to know how good you are, or improve your riding, you need to get on the East Coast. And they took my word for that. I think they had plans to go there anyway, but they went over and did a couple of meetings at Mildura and learned what it was like to ride in that company. And they weren't put to shame. They did quite well. They were very fast, but the experience of the guys on the East Coast, they're riding all the time, mate. They're up and down, riding different tracks, riding against each other all the time, and just about every time they get together, it's like a mini Aussie championship. So there's a lot of bragging rights on the table. So when those guys race each other, job's on. So Reece was certainly not put to shame and came back and learned a lot. So he's brought that back to Pinjar, and he's getting quicker and quicker all the time. He's got new machinery this year, and he seems to be dialing that in quite nicely. So Reece could be a dark horse. He's got a lot of motocross experience. He knows his way around Pinjar. He's a good operator on the gas. So, at Pinjar, there's a lot of, it can be a curb ride. A lot of the time it is a curb ride. So they've got to sort of get themselves, do all your passing, exiting corners and entering corners. And, the gate is really huge over here, mate. So you got to be a really good gator to get up the pointy end to make it a bit easier for yourself as well.
Now, I skipped over him initially, but we'll go back to him now. So Jeff Bishop and Daniel Bishop. Now, Jeff did the Mildura Aussies as well, the same with Reece Liptrot. Yep. I wasn't sure what was going on that meeting, but Mildura is a tricky track and they didn't really have the result they wanted. But back home at Pinjar, surely they'd be in the better chances to do well at the qualifier.
Well, obviously having a home track advantage is card up your sleeve. But once again, Dave, these guys, the good guys, run up and down the East Coast all the time on different size tracks, different shape tracks, different surfaces. So they adapt really quick. So I don't think they're going to have a drama when they come over here. They're going to have a bit of a practice and pretty much know exactly what they're going to do, as Playstead did on the weekend. Didn't have any dramas at all, mate. Came, saw, conquered, and he'll be faster next time. Our guys, as I said, they could all be dark horses because they know their way around the track. But obviously we're going to probably have different starters, different people on the trigger, all that type of thing, because it's an Aussie champ. And so, it's all about the gate here, mate. So, and start position is very important. Gate position is very important. And you just got to be so sharp out of the hole, get out of the hole and get going. And you can win out of any hole here. I've seen gate 4 win. I've seen gate 1 be a disadvantage. So it comes down to a bit of the weather, who's prepping the track, what it's going to be like, how it stands up. I've seen a lot of races won out of gate 3 here. So, I think it's going to be a bit of a Gators derby, mate, and who can get around the curve the quickest.
Yeah, exactly right. And another team, so Josh Wells used to ride back up here in Queensland. I think he was doing mining work back then. He had Lance Tulloch on the back. And they were doing Kiwi stuff as well. But another guy who was competing at the same time as his current passenger is Justin Winchester. Now, Justin was on the back with Paul Pinfold when I first sort of come on the scene. Now, those two actually, we were talking about this before, those two dished it up to Hutto in one of the meetings there not long ago because there was a lot of biff and barge and carry on, but didn't seem like Josh and Justin were too scared to give it back.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Josh has been behind the bars for many years now and he knows his way around. He's got really good gear. His bike's definitely fast enough and he's experienced enough. Justin Winchester is as good as any passenger I've ever seen. I've had him on the back with me and he's brilliant. He's been on the back with a lot of really good riders and he's been an asset to the team. So those two, talk about dark horses, those two could pop up and take some points off some real serious players, and they're very capable of doing so, and their machinery is as well. So, yeah, keep your eye out for those guys as well. It's an Aussie title. Anything can happen, Dave.
Now, we're going to talk about two young guns that, first of all, there's no avoiding him. Nato, your grandson. Now, I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't think he'd be this good. And I didn't think he'd listen as good as he has. So he's on Nicky West stuff, and it's great gear and all that, and he's proven to be very smooth and very headstrong. So him and his passenger Jackson have been going really well. So what do you sort of expect out of NATO?
I don't really expect anything, Dave. I think none of us expect anything. It's Nate's first season. He's 16. He turned 16 last September, and then he's old enough to ride a senior bike. So he's jumped on a senior bike, and he's brought with him everything he's learned from the time he spent with me, from the time he spent with Trent, mainly Trent, and just the laps that he's done already as a 16-year-old, Dave, are quite remarkable. The guy, I had him in competitive BMX, very competitive BMX, as a 6-year-old. He's gone from there into mini motocross, and then he's gone into the senior motocross thing with enduros, and he's done the junior sidecar thing. He's won the O'Brien Cup. He's run all the Australian rounds. He's been all over Australia racing juniors. Whereas when Trent was racing seniors, they dragged the two bikes along. And here he is as a senior, and it's just a natural progression. Here's a 16-year-old kid with 10 years of racing experience and heaps and heaps of laps under his belt as a 16-year-old. So he's been taught the way to race. He's been taught how to treat racing. He knows what it's about already as a 16-year-old. So to come in level-headed the way he is and to ride with the attitude that he rides with, to us, it's not surprising. To a lot of other people it is, because, wow, this kid's only fucking 16, you know. But we know what he's done leading up to this. This was the stepping stones to get to where he is now. We are very, very proud of the way he's treating his sport. So my expectations aren't anything. If he pulls something out at the Aussie titles, that's remarkable. If he makes the final at the Aussie titles, it'll be remarkable. I don't have expectations for him, and I don't want to put pressure on him, and neither does Trent. But, between you and I and what we've seen of him, hey, look, he's a bigger chance as anybody. He's pushing wind up some of the big players on their home tracks. So, look, let's just see what unfolds, mate. He's going to be in our camp when he stays here. He's going to live with us. And obviously we're going to get in his ear a bit and just, a few what we know about the sport, and just leave it up to him and Jackson to do the job on the track. It's great to see Nicky. The whole team's staying here. There's 10 of them coming across. Have Nicky staying here as well. I've never met her yet. So it'll be really good to sort of bring the team into the family. The family grows, and the future's looking great. Whatever happens this year, who knows? But no expectations from my side, mate. It's just more I'm wrapped that he's actually here to qualify and with a chance of making the big show on Sunday night.
Well, you'll get along with Nicky a treat, man. She's pretty mechanically minded, nice lady and that. But while we're on sort of the second generation riders, or third, I guess you'd say, Jake Treloar. Jake Treloar has been one of my favourite kids to be around in the sport. He's been a lot of meetings I've been at. Yeah, there's got to be weight on your shoulders having your dad being the greatest ever, but it don't seem to weigh on him. Like he's, I don't know, he just goes out and does his thing. And Eli on the back is a fantastic passenger, former Phil Hudson passenger, former Shane Hudson as well. So those two are really good together. But Jake's starting to sort of take over from Darren when, if Daz has the chance to race a meeting, he'd rather watch Jake run and help him. So what's your sort of thoughts on Jakey?
Well, that was always going to be the natural progression with Darren, to sort of take a step back and help the young fella out. Look, I haven't seen Jake ride enough yet, but of all accounts, he's going to be good. And how couldn't you be, if you're dedicated to the sport, how couldn't you be with Darren in your corner? I don't feel sorry for Jake, but I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him being the son of the greatest ever. And I hope that he just runs his own show, enjoys the sport for what it is, and just be happy that he's got his old man in the corner. And if he shows dedication, I'm sure Darren will give him everything he needs, and the future's looking good there too. I mean, the future's looking great, isn't it? I mean, you got Fuster over here. He's a bloody good peddler with a good team owner, 2 bikes. You got Darren Trelaw, Jake Trelaw. Darren will obviously give Jake everything he needs when Darren completely steps away from the sport. You got NATO with Trent and myself in his corner, more Trent than me because I'm over here, unfortunately, and I can't be in his corner all the time. So there's 3 up-and-coming young blokes who are all sons of champions who are keen as buggery to take the ball and run with it. So, really can't wait to see these guys up against each other, the new generation, mixing it up together, and with the old fellas in the corner. So it gives us a reason to go away racing so we can catch up with each other as well, mate.
We've sort of touched on some of the qualifiers. Some people to watch in the qualifying meeting for me would be Brady Cohen and Jesse Headland. And another couple quick ones here would be obviously Mark Mitchell. You can't count out him. He's done a few WA trips and done well. Now, someone I want your input on is Shane Hudson and Adam Constable. Now, Shane has been racing everywhere. I caught up with him at the New South Wales titles, and, it was very, very fast and all that. But do you think it's possible that pressure gets to these younger guys a little bit easier than it does the older guys?
I think more frustration than anything else gets to the younger guys. You can't buy experience. Hutto's been around for a while. He's came from the junior ranks and he was very good. He won the O'Brien Cup as well, and I remember presenting it to him. He's had a lot of help from people around him, and he's always had good machinery when he stepped into the senior ranks. Hutto's fast. Don't get me wrong. I've seen that guy pull some races out that's like mind-blowing, and he's as fast as anybody on his day. If Hutto has a good day, look out. He'll be there. No dramas at all. I've seen that guy make finals. I've seen him beat the best. I've seen him be very fast everywhere he goes. So, look, Shane's just got to, basically put his head down and concentrate on what he's doing. Don't let the bullshit get to him, and go out and ride his race. And Shane could be in the top 4. He could make a final. No dramas at all. So it's all up to how you take the race meeting, how you prepare for it, where your mindset's at. It's very, the bar gets lifted at the Aussie titles every time. It gets lifted. So if you think you're fast during the season, everyone goes a little bit faster at the Aussie title because they bring their A game, and it's game on. So I think Hutto can be there. I think he can really shake up a lot of big players. But you just got to keep your head in the right place and ride accordingly.
Now, just quickly, the riders that are actually seeded into the Australian title, you got the ones that you would already know. You got Nick Headland, Warren Monson, Nashi, Mark Playstead, Trelaw. Now, the ones that in the younger generation, Max House and Riley Commons. Now, these kids have been very, very impressive. What's your take on them at the moment?
Oh, look, their dads were great racers as well, because they're the sons of really good riders. So everywhere they go, they're fast, and they got good guys in their corner as well. So, and you got young Bondi as well, and they're always fast and wherever they go. So the House and Commons, I rode with the older version, and they were very fast everywhere they went. So I'm sure the 2 kids, I haven't seen a lot of them racing, but of what I've seen and heard and read about, they're on the money as well. So yeah, it's like whoever has a good night. You have your good nights, your bad nights. Some of these young kids could come up and take some points off some of the big players, and all of a sudden see themselves in a final. And anything can happen in the final, as we know. So, yeah, look, mate, you wouldn't want to be a bookie, Dave. But look, I think Mark Placestead and Benny Pitt are a well-oiled machine. He's hungry as they come to get 3 in a row to join the club. So, if I was to have a secret bet on the side with you, mate, I think I'd have my money on Mark Placestead. But you know what? He could get upset by a couple of guys who are a bit hungrier. So it's whoever gets out of the gate the quickest and whoever keeps a level head, mate, I think is going to win this. But that's my call. I think Mark's really hungry for 3. And I know what it's like to be hungry for 3, and same with Darren Treloar, and you do what it takes to get it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's pretty much the whole reason I wanted to chat to you, particularly about this tonight, because there have been people that have won an Australian title here or there, and there's no taking away from that. There's nothing easy about winning an Australian title. However, I distinctly remember you telling me that you make your own luck, and that is a huge thing I've been seeing, particularly in these last 2 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No, very, very true. It's what you put into it, you get out of it. And to win one's hard enough, but to strap 3 in a row together is real hard, because you've got a target on your back, and to keep your mindset, your machinery, and everything fit and healthy to repeat 3 times in a row it's quite hard to do. But I think Mark really wants to join the club, and he's a pretty well-oiled machine, and the team is as well. So, that's my gut feeling. But it's an Aussie title, mate. Anything can happen, mate.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, unfortunately, mate, we've been given the 2 minutes, and I don't think I'm going to make it out to this heat. But, thank you so much for jumping on the pole line again, mate. It's been too long since we've had a chat proper on this. But, yeah, thanks again, man. That was killer. Yeah,
no worries, Dave. My pleasure, and fuck you.
Right, Glenn. Well, thanks for having a chat again, mate. And who knows?
You coming over?
Nah,
you coming over?
No, we tried everything and didn't pan out. So I'll be watching the live stream though, mate. So be careful with those live interviews, eh?
Righto, buddy. All right, mate. Great talking to you, Dave. All the best, my man.
All right,
Take care.
Bud.